All right, all right. This is a story that a lot of people have been asking to hear. I will tell you right off the bat that it is not, I don't know, maybe not as entertaining of a story. It's not as cute and funny. There's not as much upbeat stuff to it. It's actually a little bit depressing. Not for me currently anymore, but just the story in general. It's not a super positive one. However, it is a story that happened to me in my life, and I feel it's a big part of me transforming into who I am currently. So I think it's a good story to tell, and I think a lot of people would probably be surprised by me having this background. So today I'm going to tell my cocaine story. So back, I told another story a while back about when I got all this money from an insurance settlement, and I basically blew it all in 2 years. The funny thing is that me being introduced to cocaine, like that had nothing to do with that, in a sense. None of that money was used on drugs, is what I'm saying. So I was about 21 years old when this happened. I ran out of money, and I got a job as a server at Lone Star Steakhouse and Saloon. It was my first ever job as a server. Actually, my only job I ever had as a server, and I worked there for over a year. And I'll probably tell that story of working there in another video, but you'll get a little bit of it right here. So, we went out after work one night when I worked at the restaurant, and there was like a bar across the street where a lot of us like to go after work and drink a few beers and go home. Now, I was not a drug user, like, at all. I loved alcohol, would drink at any opportunity. I mean, I was 21 years old. It's probably pretty common for that age. Also, the atmosphere, it's a lot of people my own age, like-minded people with a bunch of cash money in pocket. So what better to do when you get off work to relieve stress than go across the street, drink a bunch of beer, take some shots, have an exciting evening, right? But one night, me and a couple of the new friends that I had made, we were drinking and having a good time, and my two friends started talking amongst themselves and kind of keeping me out of the conversation. And I was like, man, what's this about, because I'm the new guy or whatever. So I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Just tell me. They're like, nah, man, we don't really want to get you involved in this because we're doing something kind of stupid, and it's not really a good habit to get into if you've never done it before. I'm like, oh shit, what are you guys going to do? You guys going to do some drugs? And it's like, I've smoked pot before and stuff like that. You've heard my other stories. But they're like, yeah, man, we're going to get some coke. And I'm like, oh, damn, seriously? And one thing is like, my background, growing up, my parents had problems with drugs. Most namely, crack cocaine was probably the worst drug that they did, that was kind of the lead to their downfall at one point, and us losing our house and all kinds of stuff. So I had an aversion to, I did not want anything to do with crack cocaine. However, the movies romanticize cocaine ridiculously. If you've ever seen Blow, you know what I mean. Like, it looks like a lot of fun, unless you're like a huge drug dealer that gets caught. But the partying looked fun. So I wanted to try it, man. I said, dude, I want to try it. They're like, nah, man, if you've never tried it, let us save you the trouble, because it's something you can get into a bad habit of doing. Like, one of these guys was a very serious drug user. The other one was closer to me. He was more my friend, and he was a casual drug user. He was kind of an alcoholic, but he was a casual user of cocaine and weed. He's like, dude, I don't think it's a good idea, man, because you're going to try it and you're going to like it way too much. And I'm like, nah, man, I'll be good. I just want to try it. I've never tried it. I want to. So I try it, man. We go into the bathroom, and they cut me a rail, and I did my first rail of cocaine. And dude, it was, woo! It was, I loved it, man. He wasn't lying. Like, I fell in love with it immediately. And I remember walking down the street that night. For some reason, we were walking. I don't know why. Walking up and down the street. And I remember just feeling like Superman, dude. Like, this is the first time I ever did something this hard. You know what I mean? I never done anything like meth or anything like that. Like, this cocaine hit me like, and I felt great, man. I felt awesome. So, needless to say, that wasn't my last time doing cocaine. I actually got into a pretty bad habit of using it to the point where that was all I did. Now, you could say I was also very depressed at the time, and, you know, I had spent all that money, I'd blown it all, I felt like a dumbass. I was working a pretty low-wage job. I wasn't going anywhere in life. I didn't have anywhere to live. I was living with my grandma at the time. So I don't know. I was self-medicating, probably. But, nonetheless, that's what I chose to do. I'd go out every night. I still drank, and I did cocaine. And it became, like, at first it was like once or twice a week, and it quickly, probably within a month, became a daily habit. I would, every night when I got off work, I'd go over to the bar, and I'd find someone, like, there was one of the bouncers there was a dealer, and then I got in touch with some other dealers. Like, I had my own dealer. It was crazy, pretty quickly. And I ended up doing, like I said, doing cocaine every night. Every night, I spent all of my tips on booze and cocaine. Every night. I was completely broke when I woke up in the morning, and eventually my grandmother found out that I was up to something that she knew was no good, and she told me I couldn't stay with her anymore. My other grandparents said I was not welcome to stay at their house. They just already previously kind of had a beef with me, and they didn't appreciate me very much. But yeah, basically I had nowhere to live. So now I'm like a cokehead, alcoholic, depressed loser, and I'm living in my car. That's all I had to my name. That's all I had left after all that money and stuff was that car that I bought. This is one good thing that came of that money at the time. I had that car for 10 years, so. Yeah. I was in a bad place, man, and this lasted for about a year. For about a year, I was living out of my car, just staying with friends whenever I could, and I was doing cocaine every night, man. It was, I don't know, it was an experience, definitely a learning experience, like that's not what I want with my life, and, I figured that out by doing it. I would never go down that road again. I just remember, getting to like a really depressed state. This is, towards the end of where I wanted to change things. And, like I said, for like a year solid, I was doing cocaine every night, every single night. Like, my nose was all clogged every day. I had sores going on. It was disgusting, man. I was falling apart. I was out of shape. I was really into working out and stuff and staying in shape and eating right. And I just didn't give a shit anymore. It was crazy. Like, I was eating the food at work, which was like garbage, like cheeseburgers and fries and nuggets or chicken tenders, and then like drinking alcohol and doing a bunch of cocaine. Like, that was my life. And it was really, I don't know, it just became a cycle. It was like what I did. I never had enough money to do anything, like get an apartment or anything, because I always spent it each night. So I didn't feel like there was no hope of saving the, $1,000 I needed to get an apartment or something like that, because I wanted to spend it too quickly. I was too depressed to get out of that cycle. So I think it also helped me too, this experience, to get a better understanding of what addiction is like. It was crazy, man. It was crazy. And I remember at one point I had this camper that I rented for like $100 a month or something. And I couldn't even afford that. That's what's crazy. I ended up getting kicked out of there. But I remember, look, who was it? I can't remember. I was listening to someone talk recently. and they were saying that once you get to where you're doing drugs by yourself, like that's when it's a problem. Like if you're doing it socially and you can just do it socially, go home and go to bed, whatever. But if you're doing it and then taking it home to do it by yourself, and you don't want to share it with anyone else, you don't want anyone else to know what you're doing, like that's when you have a serious problem. That's when it starts going really bad. And that was me, man. I was very depressed. I remember I would actually write letters to myself, telling myself, like, dude, what the fuck are you doing, you piece of shit? Remember this when you get up in the morning, because you're going to feel like shit, and you need to change your life, dude. I knew it, and I knew I was better than what I was doing with my life, okay? And that's what prompted me to actually bite the bullet and go become a truck driver, which is something I always swore I would never do. My dad did it, and he always tried to get me to do it, and I said, dude, it's not for me. That's not the life I want to live. I don't want to do that. And it was just a moment of desperation. I said, what do I do to get away from all of this craziness that I'm living in right now, and also get my feet under me and turn my life around? And that's what it was, man, driving a truck. So as much as I, even to this day, don't enjoy driving a truck, I'm so thankful for truck driving, man, because it got me out of this crazy mess. Truth be told, I continued doing cocaine here and there, maybe once a month, for like a year into driving a truck. And yeah, it just became, there came a point where I said, this really isn't, like, because every time you feel like shit, you feel great while you're doing it, you feel like the biggest piece of scum on the earth when you wake up in the morning. And that's no joke. Anybody who's ever done it and come down from it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So yeah, became a truck driver, still kept doing it. Like when I would come home, I'd hang out with the same old friends and do it again. And I just eventually got to the point where I was like, this isn't what I want. I want a family. I want to have children. And that's what I did, man. I started a new life. I had my son. I got married. I have my son. Now, that marriage didn't work out. And, you know, it's a blessing that it didn't. Like now that I know what I was getting into. But that's what turned it around for me. I was ready to step up, be a man, have a family, be a father, and I knew I had always wanted that for my life, and I knew I wasn't going to get it while I was still doing drugs. So that was it. I mean, I quit that easily. I wouldn't say easily. It was a struggle. Obviously, I kept doing it for a year of truck driving, but once I decided definitively, like, that's it, man. I can't have this life and this life at the same time. I got to choose, and what I chose was being a good man, being a father, being a husband at the time. But even now, you know, I'm basically a husband again, and I'm in a much happier place in my life, a much happier relationship. I have more children, and I haven't touched cocaine since then. Since that time, I decided, hey, I'm ready. I'm gonna start a family. Like, I haven't touched it since then. And I look back now, and I'm like, man, I couldn't imagine doing that with children. I know people do, and I couldn't imagine, like, how horrible I would feel if I stayed up all night doing cocaine and woke up the next morning like, the fuck, man, I have children. I have children that depend on me. Like, I can't imagine doing that with children. I'm so glad that I got that out of my system and then realized that, you know, I have an addictive personality and I can't go chasing shit that's illegal and bad for you, or I will continue doing it. Like, that's self-control I have to have, is to not pursue that stuff, because I know I'm addicted to all kinds of stuff. I'm addicted to caffeine and nicotine, sugar. I mean, I'm addicted to working out. Like, anything that brings me the slightest, you know, bit of physical positivity, if it feels good physically, I become very easily addicted to it. So I have to watch out for that type of thing. And I know that. And at least I know now I'll never touch cocaine again. So anyway, that's my cocaine story. It was basically like a 2-year part of my life. And I would never want to relive it, but I'm glad I experienced it so that I know what I don't want. I know what I don't want for my life. Anyway, that's it. People have been asking to hear my cocaine story, and there it is. That's it. Like I said, not too exciting, not too fun or funny or cute, but it is a story that happened to me, and